So today, we're going to talk about a hidden crisis, one that could seriously derail our electric future. It's all about a metal that, let's be honest, you probably don't think about much, but our entire modern world absolutely depends on it. All right, let's kick this off with a question. What's the one material that's the secret ingredient behind the green energy transition, the AI boom, and the entire global electrical grid that keeps our lights on? Yep, it's this unassuming reddish-brown metal, copper. And its importance? Well, it's pretty much impossible to overstate. Okay, so to really get a handle on the crisis that's brewing, first we've got to understand just how deeply copper is woven into, well, everything. You see, copper has this amazing property. It's an incredible conductor of heat and electricity. I mean, the only thing better is silver, and let's face it, wiring our world with silver would be pricey. So copper is the absolute bedrock of all our electrical systems. So where does it all go? Well, think about this. Almost half of all copper we mine goes straight into electrical stuff. But its usefulness doesn't stop there. It's in your plumbing, it's in our buildings, it's even used on ships because it doesn't corrode and it actually kills germs. Super useful stuff. All right, so we've got it. Copper is absolutely essential. Now, let's dig into the first piece of this puzzle, our completely insatiable global demand for it. And a huge driver of this demand? It's the green energy transition. Take a look at this. An offshore wind farm needs 5 times more copper per megawatt than a traditional gas plant. So as we race to build a cleaner future, we're also creating a massive appetite for copper. And this chart, wow, it really paints a picture of the global scale of this demand. China alone is consuming nearly 60% of all the world's copper. But look, it's not just China. You've got countries like India and Vietnam rapidly industrializing, and their consumption is just getting started. And this isn't some short-term blip, you know? The big players in the industry, like BHP, are projecting that global demand is going to grow by something like 70% by 2050. That's a steady, massive increase, year after year. Okay, so on one hand, you've got this rocket ship of demand. Now let's look at the second force on this collision course, a supply that is seriously struggling to keep up. And this is the logical question, right? If demand is so high and prices are going up, why don't we just, go find and mine more copper? Well, the answer gets to the real heart of the problem. Because the hard reality is, we've pretty much already found all the easy-to-get-to copper. Look at these numbers. The rate of new discoveries has absolutely plummeted. It's slowed to a crawl. And to make things even more difficult, the quality of the ore we are mining is getting worse. It's like we're having to squeeze more and more rock just to get the same drop of juice. We literally have to move and process almost twice as much earth to get the same amount of copper we did just 30 years ago. And here's the real kicker. Even when we do strike gold, or, well, copper, it takes, on average, 17 years to get from that discovery to actually producing anything. 17 years. We just don't have that kind of time to build the new mines we need to meet this coming wave of demand. Okay, so if we can't really mine our way out of this mess, what about our other options? The tech fixes. Can we just recycle more? Or maybe find something to replace copper? You hear this all the time, right? We just need to scale up recycling. And on the surface, it sounds like the perfect solution. But when you actually crunch the numbers, a very different story starts to unfold. The hard truth is, we're actually pretty terrible at recovering used copper. A big part of the problem is that it's often used in these tiny little amounts, buried deep inside complex things like your phone or your car. Getting it out is tough and expensive. The result? We only recover about 40% of the scrap that's out there. It's just not going to close the gap. And substitution? Yeah, that's not a magic bullet either. Sure, you could use something like aluminum, but it's just not as good a conductor. That means you get big performance drops, and you could even introduce safety risks. And the real irony? Making those substitutes is super energy intensive, which requires, you guessed it, a ton of copper infrastructure to begin with. So let's put it all together. We've got this perfect storm brewing, demand that's absolutely skyrocketing, and a supply that just can't keep up. This brings us to the climax of our story, the inevitable collision. And it's not just us saying this. Forecasts from just about everyone. The International Energy Agency, the big mining companies, they all showed the same terrifying trend. Look here. After supply peaks later this decade, it actually starts to fall. all while demand just keeps on climbing. That gap you see, it's only getting wider. So here's the bottom line. Within the next decade, we are heading for a projected annual shortfall of 10 million tons of copper. That is a staggering gap between what the world needs and what we can physically produce. And all of this leaves us with one final, unavoidable question. Our entire electric future, everything from tackling climate change to powering the next generation of AI, is being built on a foundation of copper. So what happens when that foundation starts to crack?